Today's guest is Jim Dorey, President and Chief Operating Officer of Inserra Supermarkets. This group is one of the largest family-owned supermarket chains in the metropolitan area, which includes ShopRite, Fresh Grocer, and PriceRite Marketplace stores. Jim has built his career from the ground up, from his family's deli to leadership roles at Wakefern, PriceRite, and now Inserra, where he helps lead a company with more than 4,000 associates and nearly 30 locations across New Jersey and New York. Jim, welcome to the C-Suite.
Fred, thank you so much. Honored to be here and glad to catch up with you as always.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining the show. Our paths seem to have just kept crossing over the last...
You're everywhere. It's easy to run into you.
6 months, 7 months,
Yeah.
and I just came to you and said, hey, you need to be on the podcast and let's talk leadership. I think I ran into you most recently at the awards for the New Jersey Food Council. Congratulations for being honored there.
Thank you so much.
We'll get into that story a little bit later, but first tell me about your role and also the impact and kind of the scale that Inserra has.
Sure. So being the president and COO of Inserra Supermarkets, it's an honor for sure. The family has almost a 75-year tradition of serving the communities. Actually, the grandparents started with a butcher store in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. Their grandmother was the butcher.
By the way.
I know. I knew we had something in common. So the grandmother was a butcher, and from there they grew into this company it is today. But the basics of it was they knew that they took care of their people always, took care of their customers always, and took care of their community always. And we try and live that every day, and we just talk about the culture that they created that's so strong to go from that little shop to the size that we are now, and with thousands of associates, and just trying to make sure that everybody that joins our team understands how much we value it. And I always talk about it's like a recipe. You can make this beautiful bread, but add one bad ingredient and it's not the same. So we really treasure it and protect it and make sure that we just get a little bit better every day.
I have a couple of numbers here. So we're into the fourth generation with the business. Revenue is over 1.5 billion. Is that right?
That's
somewhere
right.
in that neighborhood,
and growing. Thankfully.
And growing. You've got it's going to be 26 ShopRite locations in New Jersey and New York, 2 PriceRite Marketplace stores, and a Fresh Grocer in New Jersey, and now a Fresh Grocer in Brooklyn.
Correct.
Right, and also 10 liquor stores.
Yes.
How do you keep up? How do you keep up with all of these locations and all the people that are involved in running a franchise like this?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of personalities. It's a lot of action. We talk about 500,000 customers every week coming through our doors. So as great as we are, and we're always trying to get it right, that there's opportunities every time. And those are the things that usually take some of your time, what went wrong and how do you fix it. But really, my day is just navigating people, right? I say sometimes it's like you're standing in the river and the current's going past you, and you got to focus on where you're trying to get to because the current could take you wherever it wants. So you have your mission, you have your priorities of what need to get straight. But really, I really spend my time. There's certain, as in your business, there's a lot of numbers and measurables you need to see every day and just understand. And to me, those are like the indicators, right? You keep those in check and you make sure they're in a good place. But it's really about getting into the stores, meeting with our people, meeting with our vendors, meeting with our management team, and just listening to them and the customers. The customers are going to tell you what's going on. And our vendors as well. I like to ask them, how are we treating you? What are we doing right? What could we do better? What does best in class look like? Are there other people out there doing it better, and what does that look like? And it's just really learning every day and then communicating. And I always laugh because communication is the word everybody wants to talk about, but it means something different to everybody. To me, it really means giving the relevant information to the right people at the right time, trying to include everybody that you can to keep things moving without getting bogged down. But make sure that people know. And when you miss and somebody isn't included on something and they're caught by surprise, you're just saying, hey, sorry. We're moving fast. There's going to be times I'm glad you brought it to me and you would get better.
Larry has created certainly a legacy here.
No doubt.
But what's your style?
It's down to earth. It's just talking one-on-one, trying to listen more than I speak. Certainly speaking last when I'm in the group. because I found out, from some very wise people along the way, if you're the leader or you're in charge and you're putting your opinion out there, some people will speak up, but a lot of them will just go along with it. And if you really want to get to the answers and get the best from everybody around you, it's to hear what they have to say.
I love that, and hearing that, it makes me think about, every organization goes through change. Everyone has stress on them. It is up to us to create joy and to find ways to work with the people and our customers in a way that creates joy, right? And to take some of those stressful moments and not take ourselves as seriously. And it's important, right? It's amazing how simple of a message that is, and it definitely resonates across these leadership episodes that I find with great leaders, that there's a level of humility and simplicity in just listening and lightening up every once in a while. And I appreciate that from you.
No doubt.
So let's go back in time, right? A couple of decades to your start. Tell me about your career journey, you growing up, like what made you, because you're now a C-suite leader, and there were certain things I'm sure that helped shape you along the way. So let's dive into that.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, family is a big shape. I'm the youngest of 5, so I'm still the baby of the family at 57 years old. And having 3 older brothers and an older sister, you know how that goes. You take your lumps along the way, and you try and keep up with everybody ahead of you, and you learn from them. My parents, hardworking people. We at one point had a deli and a catering business and a pizzeria that was like a corner grocery store, really, in West Orange. So from there, from a really young age, maybe 11, I was washing pots in the back and learning and getting to meet people. And, really all through college, I was there and working with your family side by side, meeting the customers every day coming through from attorneys and business owners to mechanics and everybody in between. And just hearing what older people were telling me as a kid and kind of picking up on that and what customer service meant as well. From there, I ended up at Montclair State, which, was probably the perfect place for me. I was a commuter, but I was working full time. And you had all of these kids that were like, a lot of them was the first in their family to go to college. A lot of them, maybe were the first to speak English, as their first language. So, and the professors I found were just regular people. A lot of them had jobs and worked in the industry. So it was just like a grind, but hardworking, gritty. And it just opened my eyes to, hey, get an education, but also, working hard. You're going to need both. From there, just a few different jobs. We talked about how I ended up at Wakefern ultimately, which, I always went to the gym early in the morning. Back in the day, I started going with this group, and they were older than me at the time. We became very friendly, social, and after a few years, one of them was Dean Janeway, who was the president of Wakefern at that time, and he said, hey, I want you to come work with us. So,
did you know that he was the president of Wakefern, and when you're seeing these guys in the gym working out?
It's funny. I didn't even know what Wakefern was. I knew ShopRite because they said they were from ShopRite, and he invited us to his house one day, and I said, well, that's a big house for ShopRite. He's doing okay. So yeah, after a few years, I understood more what his role was, but he's just a regular guy, so you wouldn't know if you're talking to him how important he was. But at that time when he asked me that, I said, well, I haven't worked in supermarkets. And he just said, listen, we have a bunch of people who are going to be retiring. We're building a bench behind. This is a foot in the door, so you can earn your way, and there's no guarantees. And that was, over 20 years ago. And I started in real estate, helping members to find locations for new supermarkets, learning about leasing. Then I went through a dairy division and frozen division, which is like procurement and filling the stores with product, but really was just building relationships through it.
So what was it for you that ultimately made you make that jump when Dean said, "Hey, there's an opportunity here"? And what was it that he said to you? Was there any specific moment that you remember in that time frame?
I'm faith. Yeah, I met a lot of good people who gave me a pat along the way, or put their hand on my shoulder and helped me. And the ones that I trust, the ones in my inner circle, when they tell me it's a good idea, I don't need to know much more. And that really worked throughout my career. You get a tap on the shoulder, this is the opportunity. And we were talking about that earlier. You just said yes, and you don't ask what's in it for me.
That's right.
And when you surround yourself with great people, and if you have mentors, especially, there's faith in it. So we didn't really ask a lot of questions. I just said, I got it. And, I had a nice setup. I had a job that way back before working from home was the thing. I was working remotely in sales, and it was a great setup. But, I just said, I'm going to do this. And a lot of hard work and a lot of travel since then, but it's certainly paid off.
On the topic of your mentor, Dean Janeway, I had the opportunity to meet him at the New Jersey Food Council event where you were honored, and I was moved when he got up to introduce you, and one of the things he talked about was what he saw in you, and it was nothing about you having an expertise in real estate. It was nothing about you knowing the food business really well there. It was all about him seeing that you had the ability to communicate, connect with people, work hard, learn, right? And he just saw something in you that said, this guy can be a great leader, and this is an opportunity to develop him. And that speaks to on so many levels across many different industries. And I'll share with you, throughout my career, like I was saying before, there were opportunities for me to move into roles that I didn't necessarily have the most experience in, but I just said yes, and I went in and I had the support, and I leaned and I listened, and there is something to be said for approaching things that way. If you have the right ingredients in all the other places and you're willing to just grind it out, right, which you do, right, and you have and you continue to do, there's a lesson there for those looking to make strides in your career. Sometimes you just got to have faith, say yes, and take that leap.
Yeah, and Fred, I think to your point now in our roles is seeing the people that we're working with and spotting that talent that they might not even know what they're capable of. And, read a lot of leadership stuff and podcasts and everything, but one of them was when you make your people feel 10 feet tall, they can do anything. And it's like giving them the confidence and seeing that that they can get it done, and then you put them in a role to win, and they do. That's the start to that success and the growth that we all need. And somebody along the way has done it for everyone, I believe. And then you get the responsibility and really the honor of being able to do it for other people. We talk about success and what does it look like, and we have families to take care of, so we need to make money, obviously. But once you get pretty set up with that, it's really to me, I said the scorecard when you finally decide to stop working in some capacity, and you look around and see 10 people, 50 people that you promoted or helped along the way. I mean, they did it, but you gave them some touch in there. I think that's the best scorecard there is. It really is an accomplishment to be proud of.
We bring up this concept of the slow build in our lives, and I think young people and most people just underestimate the value of the slow build because they have no idea how big that can turn. That can turn later on in your life. Talk about that.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, as you're younger, we're all in a hurry, right? And a year seems like an eternity to then if you have to wait for something. So it is. It's like we were saying earlier, every day is an interview. You're interacting with people everywhere, whatever the interaction is. And if you're doing it with kindness and consideration and you're being a good person, things tend to work out because everybody knows everybody, especially in this New Jersey community, right?
Yes, sir.
And we cross paths with a lot of people. So it's just about, treating people with kindness and respect. Literally one of the things I say to myself every day when I start the day is I'm going to help somebody today. And if I can help one person, it's fantastic because, again, paying back on all the help that I got. But it's this network of good people. We only met a few months ago, but we know 20 people that know each other, and we're sitting here today because of that. And I know that we'll be friends and in contact for years to come. And that's how this world is. Like so many people, when I'm sitting with them, and it's like, wait, so-and-so, and they can help you. And I was just telling you a construction problem that we ran into.
Right.
And the owner of the one company, I'm like, I know the cousin. If he can reach him, maybe he can fix it. And 3 phone calls later, we're talking. And that's the beauty of it. And helping people when there's nothing in it for you it's my favorite thing to do. And it doesn't make sense to some people early on, but the good ones get it. They know, let me help everybody. And I don't need anything back in return. But eventually things come around. And I always say there's an opportunity is going to come up in a room somewhere that you don't know about the opportunity. You don't know who's in the room, but as many fans of Fred that can be in that room is better for you.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's how I run my life and try and run the business that way as well.
Right. So the concept of creating value for others when you don't need anything in return, that's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And building those relationships that are based on that foundation of value over time is really what's going to yield something great later on. And even if it doesn't, you've just done something nice and you're putting good karma out there.
Yeah, it's good for your health.
Right? Now, that's right. And listen, going to the gym is really good for you because that's how you became president.
Correct.
Ultimately, that led you here. Had you not gone to the gym and connected with Dean.
Well, and I used to shop when I'd leave the gym. I'd go to the Clark ShopRite and I'd buy. I'd do the shopping at the time because I think my daughter was like an infant.
Yeah.
And I'd always have flowers in the cart and a donut. And he would bust me if I saw him. He said, "What are you doing with the donut?" I said, "Well, the donut, it's for me. I need a treat." I said, "The flowers," I said, who knows if my wife or my daughter's ever getting flowers from somebody else, so I'm going to make sure I bring them home. So he would laugh, but...
Flowers and a donut.
And a donut.
That's great.
Yeah.
After the gym.
After the gym, yes.
All right, we're gonna scratch the donut part from this.
No more donuts.
No, that's fun.
I'll tell this quick story because it tells you how hard the jobs were. So a procurement manager at Wakefern at the time was all the buyers reported. So if you ran procurement for frozen, all the frozen food buyers came to you. And it was a lot of logistics and a lot of service level, a lot of headaches, and so one day I had to go to the dentist in the middle of the day, and I didn't know I was getting a root canal. The doctor said, "You got to come for a follow-up." So I'm sitting in this chair and they're doing a root canal, but I'm looking out the window and it's like, trees and everything. And I'm like, I said, "Well, it's so nice to have a break from work and to sit here and do this." And then I stopped and I said, "If a root canal is a pleasant break from your job, you got a problem." So that might have been the toughest job, but no, in reality, going through all of the stores, meeting all of the people, you get dropped into a position that doesn't make you the leader. You got this title, but now all of these people, and some of them probably hoping you fail, but they don't know who you are and you got to earn your way. So, and especially when you have remote areas where they're not getting a lot of contact. So you're spending a few days with them at a clip. And it really, again, it just came back to talking to the people, listening to them. And sometimes you're always following up on whatever the conversation was. And sometimes that was like the first time they would have that. Well, nobody really ever asked me what we should do here.
You showed you listened.
And then if you followed up on it and you really did what you talked about and something changed, that made a world of difference. And that spread quickly and you got fans.
Great segue to talk about the growth of Inserra. You guys are in growth mode, obviously, still.
Yes.
Right?
Fortunately, yes.
You're in growth mode. You're also investing in some level of technology and automation. Talk about the growth outlooks. I guess the supermarket business is still good here in New Jersey and New York. Talk about that a bit, what you're investing in.
I mean, the food business, supermarket business, you think of all the ways you used to have to go to the supermarket for everything, milk, water, paper towels, whatever. Now, obviously, customers have hundreds of options, if not thousands. So every day we're earning the customer over and over again, right? You have customer loyalty, but it's one bad experience and they're on to, the next. So we talk about every day appreciating the people that walk through the door. So yeah, we do have growth, in customer count. We have growth in store count. We made a couple of acquisitions, fortunately, and that's the slow build where you build relationships with families that are in the business. So when there is an opportunity, I always say we want to be the first in position to say no, right? So we want to know about it and work with them, and a couple that have worked out great for us. But those are over time because they trusted Larry and his family, or they trusted me from knowing me all these years. And we made a great transition. So the growth is there. It's a fight every day. Prices obviously go up. The price of food away from home has gone up more than in the supermarket. So customers are feeling it, and then you throw gas in. People make tough choices, and we want to always show them the value. The beauty of ShopRite is we have so much variety, right? So if you want the lowest price, cheapest paper towel, we're going to offer you that. If you want the luxury top line, that's there as well. So we try and help our customers in that sense. When it comes to technology, we're always listening. Wakefern as a partner to us will come and say, "Hey, we've looked at lots of technology. We think this is good for you," and we're always up for testing. So we use one technology. It's called Tally. It's a robot that goes up and down the aisles, and it scans for items that are missing from the shelf, discrepancies on the price tags on the shelf, or anything else out of order. And we tested it. We loved it. It made our percent of in stock improve markedly, which was a great investment. And then it frees our people up to do something less manual, to do other jobs to help the business. We also Caper Cart, which is owned by Instacart. So that's a shopping cart that as you shop, it's weighing and scaling and ringing everything up for you. It's making recommendations. It's showing you sale items, helping you navigate the store. Again, that one it's on version 5.0. The first 4 versions we didn't approve of. 5.0 looked better. We tested it. Now we rolled it out to more than half of our stores, and customers love it. It makes the experience, less friction, and so we're always learning. It's AI as well, obviously. So we're up to learn and test.
Listen, you need, when you have an organization of your size and scale, you have to keep investing. So it's great to hear you're doing that.
Thank you.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the community and the communities that you guys serve. I've been at a number of nonprofit galas, and of course, I'm like, wait, Larry and Sarah's getting honored again?
Yeah.
The North Jersey Friendship House is a client of ours, and I know that he is a big part of that organization as well as a supporter. He was honored one year. And talk about the philanthropic efforts and the community engagement.
Yeah, like we said earlier, the family knew from day one taking care of your community was the right thing to do and good for business. But Larry and the family are just so generous that, to your point, every day I run into somebody who says, oh, and Sarah, Larry helped us with this. Oh, Larry built the hospital. Larry helped. And he, one time I went to an event, and person organizer said, we've been trying to honor Larry for 15 years. And he always says, no, thank you. He always gives, but he doesn't want to be honored. And it's just, for all of us, we talk to our associates and say, hey, we're in a supermarket business, but we are helping to fight cancer. We're helping to cure diabetes. We're helping people serve in the military or that did serve. Just one quick one, Tackle Kids Cancer and the J Fund, which helps families of kids fighting cancer. So, can you think of something better, right? So we got involved with them. We did some shopping, gift cards, thousands of dollars where the families could shop at Christmas. But, Mary Jane called me one day and said, hey, we want to do like free groceries. So, it's a 2-second conversation with Larry. How much is that enough? Should it be more? So we gave 3 families free groceries for a year as their kids were fighting cancer. And I got to go to one of the dinners. And again, he doesn't want any acknowledgement. He'd probably be mad that I tell his story. But I go to the dinner, meet one of the families, and the mom, they introduced me. So he's from Inserra. And the lady hugs me, is crying, saying, you don't understand, when we're going through this, like all these people helping us. So to me, I'm like, can it get better than that? So my role is to make sure the stores are growing and making money so we can do more and more of that. But we are all in on everything. There's not a community we're not involved in. And listen, it's the right thing to do. It's good for business, but it comes from them out of a modest, hidden place from the heart. And the answer is always yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. The impact that you're making just continues to have a positive ripple effect. I do want to end on one note, and this has been so much fun, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Great.
One note I always like to end some of these interviews is really, what is your best advice for young people starting a career or people that are maybe mid-level in their career and they want to do more, they want to take a leap? What's your advice for success?
My advice is, take it for what it's worth. And I have kids, 21 and 26, like I said, so I give a lot of advice. My daughter says everything doesn't have to
listen?
be.
How much
they
do.
Listen? They're great. They
listen.
But she says, everything doesn't have to be a lesson. So
okay.
maybe it's too much advice.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I say, be a good person. You can't make a good deal with a bad person. That's, first and foremost. Be good to everybody around you. Talk to people. Reach out. You see something of interest, something you want to be involved in, get involved in it. Say yes every time the opportunity comes up. And if you're doing something that you're interested in, you will be really good at it, and it'll turn to another opportunity. So, it's building the network even when you're young. You can do it through LinkedIn. You can do everything and get busy doing something. Like I know so many parents that say, oh, my son, my daughter graduated. They've been looking for a job for the last year. I'm like, you know what? Come into ShopRite. We'll give you a job today, and that'll be what you'll do until you find the next one. But being active and being in it is where everything's going to come to you. And be alert. We were talking about earlier, you'll get opportunities and you won't recognize them until they pass sometimes too. So if you increase your odds of opportunities, the better things will happen. And, ask for advice. People reach out to me. I know they reach out to you. Whoever you're working with and you look up to, learn from them, and then learn from the bad examples too. So see what you want to be, see what you don't want to be. But if you're doing the right things and you're working hard, doesn't mean you're going to be a billionaire, but you're going to be happy and successful.
Well, those are words to live by. I'm inspired by the leadership that you
brother.
bring, the person you are, and the impact that you're making. So, Jim, I really appreciate being on the show.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
you, bro.
again.
This is a pleasure. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.